Nathan Zagura.
All right, let's do it live on a game week edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. Here we go, buddy. We spend all of these weeks, all of these shows, breaking down all of this stuff around the game, and now finally we have a game, and it kind of feels like it could be a dandy. So it's got all of the things that you want heading into an opener. Buds have been found.
I did take him, Gibby. Gibby rolling his eyes.
Of course he is. Yeah,
That's right.
That's right.
You know what? I'm pumped. We're 2 days away from the kickoff of the NFL season. You had a draft last night. I had a draft last night. It's all starting to feel, in the words of the great Jim Donovan, it's all starting to feel very real that this season is coming. And for the Browns, it begins, obviously, September the 11th, Charlotte, North Carolina, in a game that if you were to say, all right, you're opening the season against a rando NFC South team that's not even supposed to be a team of consequence, you'd say, okay, this is a juiceless opener. I couldn't disagree anymore, given the fact that it is Baker, given the fact that it is a game that you feel like with your quarterback being suspended, you've got to find a way to win. This is a monster one, in my opinion. This is a big game for the Cleveland Browns, and here it is. And talk speculation, what's this team going to look like with Jacoby Brissett? And Week 1 always produces tremendous overreactions because it is 1 week of the NFL season. But I think it's an important one to have the overreaction being, okay, the Browns are going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think we said before we started the show, this is the biggest opener since I've been here. And I don't know how, you predate me obviously by several years, but this is my 5th season on the show, and this feels like the most important one for me. It's not a conference game. It's not a division game. It's not any of those things. But it is, in a way, we've used the word referendum, and all of those things I think are appropriate because of who the quarterback for the other team is. And the idea that there has to be, when you look at this schedule and you're waiting until week 12 for Deshaun Watson to return to this team, there has got to be games on the schedule that are dubs in order for those games with Deshaun Watson to matter. And this, rest assured, is one that needs to be a dub. So there's real pressure to this one, let alone the Baker stuff. This is one where you looked at and said, boy, we got to get that one. We do. And so there is a great deal of importance on this game on Sunday, and I think it adds some juice to it. My guess is that every television in Northeast Ohio will be on this game. If you are a Browns fan, you will find it because we'll be very honest. I think that there were certainly some who thought that another year of Baker Mayfield was something that they were for. The organization felt differently, moved off of it, but that part of it is real, and it can't be ignored this week.
It can't be ignored. It is very real. And even though the Browns are an underdog in this game, the Browns, I agree with you, need to go out there and find a way to get a win because I think as you look at the course of this schedule, number one, the win would be huge. It would stop something that has been unique to the Browns, which is an inability to win in week 1. Yeah. I think we're at 17 years now. No other team has gone more than a decade without a win in the opening game, and so we're more than due. Then you get to come home, you get the Jets, Steelers. You have a chance to then really start building, but it takes that first one, and this is a team that's got some talent on it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at their defensive side of the ball, the majority of people who are playing for this team on their defense, it's like Brian Burns was a first-round pick in 19. Derek Brown, first-round pick in 20. Yetur Gross-Matos, a second-round pick in 20. Shaq Thompson was a first-round pick. Dante Jackson, their corner, second-round pick. Jeremy Chin, second-round pick. C.J. Henderson was a first-round pick. J.C. Horn, a first-round pick. And then Xavier Woods has been in the league now for a while and been a very productive player. So they have high investment talent on this football team to the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. And the Browns are going to have to be ready to match. I mean, offensively, DJ Moore's a first-round pick. Marshall's a second-round pick. Their left tackle's a first-round pick. Right tackle's a second-round pick. Baker was the first overall pick. Christian McCaffrey was a first-round pick. So this is a team that's got a lot invested in their guys, early picks. And look, for them, the NFC's so wide open that they could be a team of consequence. I mean,
I think they flipped. Flipped as long as, Baker had a nice camp. By all accounts down there, they had a nice camp, and they kind of went from a team that you thought maybe, okay, where are we going to? Okay, we're all in. Let's go all in to try to make the playoffs this year, and let's see what we can do to support Baker Mayfield and see what happens.
Yep. I think, yes, you're exactly right about that. And so now this is a game that has some juice on both sides, and both sides want to get this one done. And, yeah, it is a big one. And you know what? You've got you had a whole lot of time to game plan for this. We know Baker very well. He knows us well. We know the things that he excels at, and he can still make darn good throws. I mean, he's not going to go out there and be a jabroni on the corner, but you know that there are situations you can put him in that become advantageous for your defense getting the football, and the Browns need to find ways to do that, whether it's showing him things he's never seen before from the Browns, whether it's just flat out dominating a rookie tackle. I mean, look, 6th overall pick, obviously you think highly of him. There's a big difference between being the 6th overall pick and then starting your career against Myles Garrett. You know, that's not an easy thing to do. Jerome Ford walks by getting ready for his NFL debut. It's a kind of a fun one. I spent this morning watching all of the snaps of the Panthers preseason when the starters were playing on both sides.
How much did they give their ones in the preseason?
A decent amount, especially in this last game. They played most of the first half against the Bills, who played none of their starters. The Bills didn't play anybody, but they played their starters, and I can tell you what jumped out to me is that their offensive line struggles to protect, and that's even against some of the backups of the Buffalo Bills, but that their defensive line, and again, this was against the backups, but the Derek Brown looked like a monster. And I know he was a monster coming out of Auburn. He looked really good. Their interior pressure looked pretty good. But we're strong at our guard position, and that's something we're going to be, lean on Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller in that regard. They've got good corners, as I talked about, a good back five. They look good in that game. But, again, it was starters versus backups. They should look good in that game. And they did.
Some roster news for us. Drew Forbes, we mentioned this on the initial 53, that it would be something that would be fluid. It is. So Drew Forbes waived, claimed by the Lions. Dorsey, of course, drafted him. So
no surprise there.
There would be some familiarity. Jordan Kunashik, who you love a lot, was signed back to the practice squad today. Joe Haig comes in, the tackle, and then tight end Jesse James, who we remember very well from his time in Pittsburgh.
That's right. And both of actually, Joe Haig, he spent a year in Pittsburgh. He was on the Super Bowl champion 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And both of these guys are just veterans. And, in the deal with Joe Haig, it makes you wonder about two things, because I don't know which is and we're going to get injury reports this week. They're going to be compelled to do that, which they're not necessarily compelled to do in camp. And that is with Joe Haig, it makes you question, okay, is Jack Conklin going to be ready?
Yeah.
And then also, is Chris Hubbard going to be ready? It's been a while since we've seen Chris Hubbard out there. And so that is those questions when you go and you get rid of a guard for a tackle. He's got 72 career games, 39 starts. He's been a right tackle for his career. Was with the Indianapolis Colts, was originally a 5th-round pick, and 16 was with them. That's where he did the majority of his starts. He started 5 games the last 2 years, Joe Haig. And so I wonder about that signing and what that means, if it means anything. But it feels like it does. It feels like we had 4 tackles on the roster, which is plenty. You're not going to have more than 3 active on a game day. So it gives me – that one puzzled me a little bit, and it gives me just a little bit of pause in terms of, okay, what does this actually mean? With Jesse James, he's now the 3rd tight end. This guy's
we thought we'd need one.
Yeah, he's been in the league for 8 years. 102 career games, 63 starts. He's got 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's more of a blocker, but he can catch the ball. His best season was 423 yards with Pittsburgh in 2018. But, your 3rd tight end when you have 2 guys. Chief does it all. Harrison Bryant improving as a blocker, but more of a pass catcher. And then this guy's more of, I think, like a traditional, what they'd call a Y, an inline tight end.
So there you go on that. When will we get Coach again? Is he tomorrow? Availability on him today? Tomorrow. Yeah, like it is 1 o'clock.
Mañana.
Tomorrow at 1. So we will get some clarity on what's going on at the tackle position tomorrow, because that's one that I would not have had either as we went into the weekend. How much did you enjoy your weekend? Was it rainy? I mean, it was just brutal here. Rain all weekend. Rain today. I mean, this is October. This is April.
Great.
This is not
great.
Not now. This is not what we're. Yeah. This isn't in the brochure.
And we had a beautiful day at the lake tubing. It's pure joy. Saturday.
Yeah,
and then Sunday was not. But I got the golf Friday.
Oh, there you
tube
go.
Saturday. So I had 2 good, and then you never want it to be gray at the lake because it's not as fun. But it ended up being relaxing and chilling, and here we are, ready, rejuvenated. Ready to go game week. The fact that today's Tuesday, even though it feels a lot like a Monday, means we're a day closer to the games, which I like.
Yeah, I watched a lot of college football throughout the weekend, and it's interesting. those two are clearly my favorite two things to watch are college football and professional football in some order, depending on the mood. But the beautiful mess that college football is juxtaposed to the precision of the NFL. I mean, it feels like a lot of college coaches are bozos. It feels like the officials are bozos. The rules are bozos. Nobody knows what targeting is. There was, just to give you an idea, there was a game Iowa played South Dakota State over the weekend. They scored 7 points. They didn't score a touchdown. They won 7-3. 2 safeties and a field goal. North Carolina played at Appalachian State. Appalachian State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter and lost. There were full houses everywhere across the country, wherever you went, full houses, except for UCLA, where apparently 8 people care about UCLA football in Los Angeles. I'm not sure if you saw that. You saw a classic in the shoe that was like peak Ohio State. I think anytime you have LeBron and Bronny are on the field, you got – I mean, my God, Jason Tatum was there. Why is Jason Tatum at a Buckeye game? But he was. Every former notable Buckeye was at that game, and it was a classic. Gibby, you were down there.
It was a party and a half. And I've been down there. I was down there for Texas when Texas played down there.
Oh,
like
5, 6.
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I've been down there for some big games. The best Michigan-Ohio State game, the 42-39 or whatever that back-and-forth game was. The atmosphere Saturday was nuts.
Yep.
Number one, I left at about 11 a.m.
Yep.
The entire city of Cleveland migrated south to Columbus.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident that
71. Just a line
it's all
of
it
lights.
was scarlet and gray or gold and green.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was almost 50-50. Everybody got along. It was getting anywhere in the city. Like, the city basically shut down at like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, a good 5.5 hours before kick.
Mm-hmm.
It had been going since about 10 in the morning, I was told.
Well, they also had the reunion for the 2002 team that was Friday night into Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, it checked all of the boxes. It was go ahead, Z.
No,
go ahead.
I would say this. UCLA had 8 fans because they played my alma mater, which was a walk in the park.
Yeah.
I mean,
the point I was making, though, that's true. It's a good job out of you to take a shot at your own alma mater, Gibby.
It's fine.
But what I was going to say is the notion that, like in college football, that it's about the markets. The markets are irrelevant. It's the brands.
Correct.
Yeah. Nobody in Los Angeles cares about UCLA football, which was evident by the fact that literally there were about 4,000 people there. There were bigger games. I guarantee Ignatius will have a bigger crowd in the next couple of weeks than what you saw in UCLA.
Like, how many people would believe that like Troy Aikman played at UCLA?
Oh, I don't even know, or even Maurice Jones-Drew. Like, they've had guys even more recently. They've had super duper star guys. They benefit because they're rivals with USC, and so they're going to come along for the ride. I think I've long felt this. I've been in the state since 2007. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no state does it better. Period. It's the high school football into a Buckeye Saturday, into the Browns, and depends on what part of the state you're in, Steelers or Bengals. But that's it. The idea that Friday, Saturday, Sunday you're booked, and the idea that from now until January you're booked. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is accounted for in the Buckeye State. This is what we do.
That's what we do.
It was awesome. I mean, the city of Columbus, props to them. They did a great job. Like, there was a crew game going on, too, downtown.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there was a lot happening, very few incidents. Everybody seemed to get along well. It rained briefly around 4 o'clock for like 20 minutes, but that was it. It was overcast. It looked like it was going to rain all night. It never did.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere was it was awesome.
Yeah, night game out of conference, Notre Dame, former Buckeyes on the staff. It had all of it, certainly. One other big piece of news is you brought this to my attention. Eastbound and Down is back in 2024, apparently.
Yes.
My theory on that is this. Powers doesn't have any more storylines for the Righteous Gemstones, Danny McBride. So he's got to deal with HBO, says, I can do some more Kenny Powers. HBO says, sold.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take it. I mean, they died at the end of the series. Like, it's over, right? There's nothing left to do. But, none of that really happened.
Nope.
Let's run it back.
We're back.
A dream.
It was all a dream. Yeah.
It was all a dream.
All right, lots to get to over the course of this week and the next couple of hours, as it is a game week edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. Get you set for the Browns and the Panthers as the week goes along. Got to make our selections as the week goes along, our divisional picks, our playoff picks, all of those things will go on. We've got a monster game on Thursday night. You're not going to do better than Rams and Bills. And so the reason that this happened is because of the 17th game. correct? The Rams and Bills, that's the reason that they're playing.
So that's
of the
the extra game.
That's the extra game, is that there are several top in division versus top in division matchups this year because of the 17th game, because they're not matched up. The divisions aren't matched up.
Well,
so this was their game that was the extra game in this one in specific.
The way that it goes is you rotate in one division in your conference, so that means every 3 years you pick up a full AFC. Every 4 years you pick up a full NFC. And the way that they're doing the extra game is, for example, last year we were matched up with the NFC West.
Mm-hmm.
And so this year I guess the AFC East is matched up with the NFC West. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who are, because we got the NFC South is on our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then what, Washington?
AFC East.
Yeah, but I'm saying for our extra game is the NFC East.
Yes.
So we get Washington.
Correct, because
we finished third.
We played the NFC East. The conference you play the following year, you play that one team based on where they finished and where you finished.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's how that happened.
Yes.
Either way, we win because you're not going to do better than Bills or Rams to open the season. All right, coming up next, you'll hear from Coach Stefanski. Our Chief Strategy Officer, Paul DePodesta, will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll go around the league. John Johnson as well. A little bit of better or worse coming up. We're off and running here on a Tuesday game week edition of Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
ESPN Cleveland.
And there's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Bones, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. And now here's Coach Kevin Stefanski at the podium from yesterday.
All right, good day of work out here.
You guys are done.
We'll go in for some more meetings and a walkthrough.
4 minutes here.
But good first day of the week. Obviously, with those 3 days off, want to get the guys out here moving around, a good spirited practice, and then really hunker down in the meeting room and the walkthrough. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, what does Hague bring for you?
I think a veteran, was somebody that our personnel staff had looked at quite a bit and just felt like he was a veteran that could add depth to the position.
And Jesse James?
Similarly, Jesse was a guy coming out that a lot of us evaluated. He's a lot of tape of him out there in Chicago and Detroit, and got to work him out, see him up close, see him run, talk to him mentally, really, really sharp. So, again, depth at the position.
Do you view him more as a pass catcher or an inline blocker?
I think with his role, Tony, he's got to be able to do both, because you're really a backup to Dave and Harrison. Obviously, there's some moments all three of them could be out there together potentially. So, it really depends on what is needed for that game.
Do you view Hague as insurance in case Jack isn't ready?
Not in those words. I just tell you, tackle depth is really important in this league. I felt like he was somebody that was available, that was really a good player.
Both tackles? Can you play?
Yeah.
Miles Garrett not out there today?
He'll be back today. Yeah.
Hey Kevin, this is of course your third first week of the season. So do you feel your team is more prepared at this point than the previous 2 years at this point? How would you compare?
Yeah, it's so hard to compare, Jeff, when it comes to first weeks and those type of things. We've tried to be very smart about how you put the plan together. Obviously had an off season this year, so that was different. But feel like the guys have a good understanding of what we're doing on all three sides of the ball. But now's the time to compete.
Kevin, historically, I realize it's a new year and you're only focused on this year, but just for whatever reason, historically, week 1 has not gone well for this franchise. It seems to be a unique thing. Do you put any extra emphasis, or do you just try and pretend that that's not even out there?
Yeah, I really don't worry about that. I don't. I worry about trying to go 1-0 versus a good football team on the road. I could promise you there's a lot of guys in here that are brand new to this organization, new players. They don't really concern themselves about the past.
Will you see how Jack does throughout the whole entire week, Jack Conklin, before you make some determination, or when do you expect it announced?
Yeah, not today, but definitely want to see how today's practice went. It's all about, for Jack, stacking days on top of each other, back-to-back practices, those type of things.
So is there a chance for him week 1?
Yes.
In terms of preparation for the Carolina quarterback, do you rely more on your own observations with him for 2 years, or a little bit he played in Carolina?
In the preseason, you're saying? Yeah. I think, Baker's obviously a player that we know well. He knows us really well, too, in terms of scheme and those type of things. So I think our players, our coaches have a real good understanding of his strengths.
Hey, Kevin, how have you seen David Ojoku embrace that #1 tight end?
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. Have had a lot of good conversation with David. I think he's excited about it. We're going to be putting a lot on his plate from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint. I think he's ready for the challenge.
We're bringing 2 new guys in this close to the opening game. What's the expectation in terms of how much they're able to take in?
30.
Going to be for Sunday?
Yeah, it's a good question, Chris. I think it remains to be seen. I think we're working through that certainly today and into Wednesday about what they can handle physically and mentally.
Kevin, now that we're kind of through and we're 2 week 1, how big of a difference does it make to have that full off season, have like a normal training camp without all the restrictions, and have the guys together?
Yeah, I think all 32 clubs had it, so it's not like it's an advantage that's unique to us. But I do think it goes a long way in preparing your football team to play, whether it comes from understanding situational ball, getting extra time in individual periods with your coaches. I mean, we had no shortage of individual time with our coaches.
But even just the ability to meet in person more regularly.
Yeah.
Last question here.
Yeah, I think it goes a long way in terms of just getting to know your teammates, getting to know your coaches.
You're up.
I think it's also, we talked about this off the top, I think it's as much pressure there is for the opener. I also think you can have about as many questions as you want about this one. I have it in my head the way I think we'll approach it offensively and what I think it'll look like, because I think it'll be similar to what we've seen, with Baker in the Kevin Stefanski years. So I think that's probably simply what will be asked. We've talked about the Case Keenum game on Thursday Night Football from last year, that potentially that's what it could be. We've also had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and bubble wrap for much of camp, so like those guys are going to be unfurled as you get into this game on Sunday. But I think the one thing for out there, I tell this, I'm sure you talk about all the time too. People, what do you see? What do you see? The thing that I keep coming back to is our defense ought to be terrifying, and Miles looks freaking nature-ish, even by his own standards.
He looks ready to dominate, and I think this defense is going to have to be dominant. I think Miles is going to have a special season to help us navigate these first 11 games. That's just the reality of the situation in terms of what the Browns are dealing with. And so it's good that it looks that way. You get your first opportunity against a team that's got some good talent at the skill positions. DJ Moore, they just signed him to a big 3-year extension. They got Christian McCaffrey, who, is the last guy in the NFL to have 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving in the same season, which he did a couple of years ago. They've got talent. Robbie Anderson can run right by you. Terrace Marshall Jr. was very productive down at LSU. He's a big guy, and now he's somebody that they're hoping can take a bigger step. He's got Hollywood Higgins, who he knows very well from his time here. It's a good test. It's a line that we should be able to. We need to control the line of scrimmage, and we should be able to, and that's going to be key. And Miles, Clowney, those guys together are as good a duo as there is in the NFL, and they're going to be asked to get the pressure that allows our playmakers on the back end to go out and make plays. We need to take the football away. We need to be ball seeking, as Kevin Stefanski would say, and then we need to capitalize on that and not make mistakes offensively and lean on some darn good players in their own right, in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Amari Cooper and the Chief. So that's the mode for it.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun one, and we'll build for it all week. One of the men who is the architects of this operation, Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta, will join us coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, the Bath Authority could give you that bathroom of your dreams. You could transform your current bathroom into a custom bath for a spa-like feel. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler, experts and factory-trained installers. If you give them a call right now, you get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399, or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. They've got the largest selection of bath projects, all made in the United States, and in a day you can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Superior products with expert installers at thebathauthority.com, 216-220-8399. And with that, we head out on the hotline for a visit with our Chief Strategy Officer, the great Paul DePodesta, joining the show. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's just start mindset for you heading into this one. What's game week like? You've spent this whole offseason with many others putting this roster together and being in a position that you like where you're at, and now here you are. What's this like for you?
Oh, you can't wait. So late Sunday night, I was sending an email to Coach Stefanski and AB, and it was just titled "Week 1" with a bunch of exclamation points. I think everyone's always super excited for the year and ready to get going, and I think that's certainly the way we all feel this week.
Did it feel like an unusually long off season given everything else that was going on, and so that now we get to play games and talk about games instead of talking about theoretically what this team can be?
Sure. I mean, I think that it definitely felt long this year, but I think that actually started with not ultimately achieving what we set out to achieve last year, right? And having that bad taste in your mouth and just not wanting to wait to get out there again. I remember last January, all of us saying, geez, I wish it were September, like next week, even though we knew we had a lot of work in front of us. And then obviously we've, done a lot with the team this year, and there's been some noise around it, which we all know, but yeah, we're absolutely anxious to get out there and, see what this team can do. I think we're excited about the roster we have and, feel like we're really ready to go.
Paul, this has been a couple-year process in terms of identifying things that needed to be fixed and amplified as the defense has gone along. And we got to look at this defense a lot in camp. Saw them against Philly. Boy, it's long, it's quick, it's interchangeable, it's dominant up front, certainly at the edges with Miles and Jadeveon. When you go back a couple of years and think about what you were trying to build big picture with this defense, how close does this get to what you guys were hoping to do?
Yeah, I think this really looks like the picture we laid out, a couple years ago, and you already laid out a bunch of the points. We're long and fast. That was something that we knew we had to do, and we didn't really have those attributes, at least on the defense as a whole. A few years ago, we wanted to be able to disrupt the passer, which obviously can, and we really wanted to be able to cover, and we feel like we've got some really terrific corners. And all that's been built, over the course of the last few years. And I think we really saw the defense come together in the second half of last season. We had so much turnover in the defensive personnel from the 20 season to the 21 season. It was almost like having a brand new defense again. It was the second year of our defensive staff, but it was really the first year for 9 of our starters or something like that.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd be better in the second half of the year, and we absolutely were. So we're really excited now to see, okay, this is truly the second year now of the same defense, the same scheme. We feel like our guys are playing faster. They have a better understanding of everything going on. And as you mentioned, too, there are a lot of guys who can do lots of different things. So we can present a lot of different looks to various offenses. I think we match up very well. And those matchups may look very different week to week, just depending on what we're seeing on the other side. But I think we've got the personnel to match up. So we're really excited to see how this defense plays. And, we didn't get to see it all together in the preseason, so I think we're all anxious to see it. But it's not like last year where we think, it's going to take a couple months for this to gel. We think we can be pretty good right out of the chute.
Paul, on the defensive side, your starters are back basically at every position with one exception, which is the interior of the defensive line, and that's the one that's gotten the most, outside discussion. How much thought was given to maybe doing something there at the 53-man cut, and how comfortable are you with that room as it is currently constructed?
Yeah, I think we like our entire D-line room, and we really look at it as a composite. I mean, you can separate the interior from the edge guys, but we really look at it all together. Jordan Elliott, I think, has made really significant strides. He made significant strides during the season last year, and we're excited about what he can do in a bigger role. And then bringing on Taven Bryan, and we think we've got the right sort of scheme fit for him. He's had some years already in this league where he was a really productive player. We think he can return to that. And then we have a couple of younger guys, a 21 pick in Tommy Togiai and a 22 pick, with Perrion there in the middle. And those guys are going to get experience. And look, this position in particular, it can take a couple of years for guys to really get their sea legs. The interior blocking schemes in the NFL, the physicality, it's hard, for those interior defensive players. There's a lot going on. There's a lot they have to recognize. So it's not just about being big, strong, and fast. There's a lot of mental games going on there in the trenches, even though it may not seem like it all the time on TV. So it takes a while for guys to get comfortable. So we know those younger guys, it's still going to take some time, but we're excited about the potential both those guys have. But we feel that Jordan and Taven, starting off are in good shape for us, and will give us some good stability there up front.
Paul, last one on the defensive side. Last year it was Miles, it was Jadeveon, and then when you get into nickel or obvious passing situations, Tack McKinley was kind of that third D end in our pressure package where we'd have those three defensive ends out there. Has somebody kind of emerged in that role to be that third pass rushing defensive end after we saw, we brought in Winovich and very impressive stuff, quite frankly, from our third-round pick, Alex Wright?
Yeah, no, I think you mentioned two of the guys that I think stand out. It certainly is the way we were putting the team together. Those are some of the thoughts we had. We thought that Chase, certainly has ability as a sub rusher. Again, he's another guy that's had some good years in this league. He's, accumulated a handful of sacks at times. So we definitely think he can play that role. But I think the way we're looking at it is more not so much the players that fit into the scheme that we ran last year, but it's really about what our players can do, and then the players that we have, what can they do, and then what are the best schemes for us to run given that.
Sure.
So we're really excited about Alex Wright. We think he's got 3-down potential as a defensive end. On it, again, with all these guys, it takes them a little while to get their sea legs. But honestly, he's further along than I think any of us expected he would be. I mean, he was a guy going into the draft that we had circled, 2 weeks beforehand, said, this guy's going to be a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah.
Some way or another, he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. So he was a consensus pick for us. Everyone was excited to get him. But I think if you ask any of us who were excited about taking him, we'd all tell you we're pleasantly surprised with just how far he's come in camp. I mean, I think he's ahead of schedule at this point. So he's going to get some opportunities. We'll see what he can do. We're also happy with, Isaac Rochelle and Isaiah Thomas. I think those guys have done a really nice job and shown that, they've got potential to carve out real roles on this team. They're both probably more base down packages as opposed to, sub packages, but who knows? That could also change as the year goes on. But they've shown real ability in those base packages, and they're going to help us win. So we like, all 6 of those guys this year. So I think we have a little bit more depth than we had previously.
Paul, I think outside of quarterback, obviously the biggest positional shakeup was at wide receiver, and you bring in Amari Cooper, and that speaks for itself. But you expect Donovan Peoples-Jones to continue to take strides as he has. Behind that, I think it's fair to say it's been a little, and you can correct me, I'm sure you feel differently, but it's been a little up and down in camp with Schwartz, obviously. David Bell gets healthy, and that's good. Woods was great early, but then has the injury. Is that room? Is there more to it than what we're seeing? Obviously you guys believe in it a great deal. I guess what are you seeing that we're not from that group early? And I guess speaking me specifically.
Sure. Well, I think you laid it out pretty well. I mean, Amari is a total pro. We're excited about having him. There's a lot that he can do both on the outside and in the slot. So I think we'll probably end up moving him around some as the situation dictates. But there's a lot he can do. As for Donovan, this is the first time he's at this point in the year stepping into the number 2 receiver role. A year ago it was still Odell and Jarvis. So Donovan had a great camp and was really stepping up, and but he wasn't the true number 2 at that point. There were certainly times where he's had to play that role before that, but he clearly is in that role now. So I think we're excited about what he can do this season. And then, as you mentioned, with some of the younger guys, the draft picks from either this year or last year, they've all had some injuries, during camp. So that I think has sort of set each of them back a little bit. But I think we're confident in all three of those guys. And we believe they're going to contribute to us. The other guy I'd mentioned is Dimitri Felton. And I think he'll end up playing a role in that room. I know he's also playing a role in the running back room. But he's a guy that, is really dynamic with the ball in his hands, and we're going to certainly find a way to get him the ball, pretty routinely, because he can make a lot of things happen. So I think the short summary is that the three younger guys that have all had some injuries in camp, we're just going to have to see how it plays out through the year. That may be a situation sort of like our defense last year that, hey, they may be playing much more prominent roles in the second half of the season than the first half, but we'll see. We think that all three of those guys can rise to the occasion, and we really have a lot of belief in all of them. And they all play slightly different roles and have different skill sets, but I think they all have skill sets that certainly that we can use.
I think we all know the running back room, and it's the best in the NFL, and we're very excited about that. So we'll skip over that and go right to the tight ends unless there's something you really want to talk about with those guys. But how pleased are you with David Ojoku? I think he's had a great offseason, a great practice yesterday, and he and Harrison Bryant kind of forming that 1-2 punch in that room.
Yeah, I mean, really happy with those two guys. And we had an embarrassment of riches, the last couple years with Austin Hooper also being part of that group.
Yeah.
But, we did see at times when we had some injuries to that room over the course of the past 2 years that when we only had two of the three, whichever two they were, tended to be significantly more productive, than when we had all three. And that isn't a reason to not have more good players, but I think it certainly gets us excited about, both Harrison and David and the productivity we expect from them this year in those roles. Obviously just signed Jesse James too, and he's a pro. He's been in this league for 6 or 7 years at this point, and we have, I think, a lot of trust in him and what he can also bring into that room. But those two headline guys, I think they're both very athletic. They're both good in both phases in terms of the run game and the pass game. So there's a lot that we can do with those guys. So I would expect that both of them will be, an integral part of the offense.
Boy, one of the strengths of this team, as long as you guys have been here, and really for the last decade plus, has been on the offensive line. You go all the back to the Joe Thomas era and all the guys that were here, there, and then continuing on a little bit of transition here, obviously at center, going from JC to Nick Harris. And boy, you want to talk about heartbreaking. That's about as heartbreaking as it gets. The injury to Nick early on, that one just breaks your heart. But you do make a move today as well with Joe Haig, or rather over the weekend with Joe Haig coming in at tackle. It caught us a little bit by surprise, Paul. Is there anything more to that, or do you just like the player? Because obviously you have, from what I count, 4 tackles now in the mix.
Yeah, I think if you were to ask Andrew Berry, he would tell you he's a self-proclaimed offensive line snob, and I think we all are, to some degree. It's something we, really believe in, just how important it is, obviously in both the run game and the pass game. We also think we have two of the best offensive line coaches in all of football, with Bill Callahan and Scott Peters. They've just done an unbelievable job with our guys. And so we feel like we've got significant depth there, really like our starters. As you mentioned, it was, really, really tough to see Nick go down the first preseason game. Otherwise, knock on wood, we've been able to stay reasonably healthy. Really excited about the year that Jed Wills has in front of him. He's looked fantastic during camp. He's played really, really well, playing confidently. And then, with the tackles, Jack Conklin, we're really hopeful to get him back. He's looked really good in practice. He's really close to, being game ready. And until then, James Hudson's played well. You mentioned we got Joe Haig. We have Chris Hubbard. We just want to make sure that we're completely covered in case of any eventuality, right? We don't want to be in a situation ever where, one spot on the line is compromising how we play offense at the end of the day. And, I think our offensive line is good enough and now is sort of deep enough that shouldn't be the case this year, knock on wood. The interesting thing about Haig is that not only can he play both tactical spots, he can also play both guard spots. We can only carry so many guys on game day. So ideally those backup guys can play multiple roles. We really like Drew Forbes, who unfortunately we lost on waivers, to the Lions yesterday. He's a really nice player. He stood for everything we believed in. He's smart, tough, accountable. I think he's going to be a good player. But he's a guard, as of right now. And that's really what the calculus came down to, is like, okay, as a backup player, just, it really helps to have that positional flexibility, and Haig brings that to us. And not to mention, a few thousand snaps in this league already, whereas Drew didn't have any. So really believe in Drew, think he's going to have a really nice career. Again, hate that we lost him. We'll be rooting for him. But that was really the thinking behind the move with bringing Joe on.
Talk with Paul DePodesta, the Browns' chief strategy officer. And Paul, let's talk quarterback really quickly. Going into this, I know how high you were and this organization was on Jacoby Brissett. Now that he's been here, it feels like the feelings are even more positive. If you wouldn't mind, talk about him, what you've seen from Dobbs, and then the decision to bring in Kellen Mond.
Sure. Jacoby's been everything as advertised and more. He's a natural leader, not just in the room, but among our whole team. We had an exercise during the off season at the end of the spring program where we took all of our players over to the Cavaliers facility for a day and had a shooting contest. And it wasn't much of a contest because Jacoby just crushed everybody. he was unbelievable. He's a terrific athlete, has a really good feel for the game, and he just has a calming presence. It seems like the game is relatively slow to him. He sees the field really well. He moves through progressions easily. He's not rattled in the pocket. He just, again, a very calming presence on the field, both in the huddle and while the play is going on. So really, really happy to have him. We think we can win with him. In fact, we know we can win with him. So we're excited to see how this looks, in the coming weeks. And we're going to get an early taste of it because we have 3 games in 12 days or something like that once we kick off on Sunday. So, but we think he's done a really nice job. Dobbs has been fantastic. I mean, I think, when we signed him early, we knew he was very smart and very athletic. Yep. And we thought, we need more guys at the position, and as you always do in camp. But I think he's exceeded our expectations. He played extremely well during the preseason. There are things that he can do that can help us win a game, and I think he showed that throughout August. And he's lived up to that reputation of being, again, both very smart and very athletic. And then, the decision to claim Kellen Mond. Look, the reality is this position is the most important position in all of sports, and I don't think you can ever stop taking shots, on guys. And Mond was a guy we liked last year in the draft. He ended up going in the 3rd round. At the time last year, it wasn't necessarily a priority for us, given the quarterbacks we already had on our roster, to go draft a guy that high. But when he came available this year, we thought, this is a guy we really liked. We think he's got real potential in this league. He's also a very athletic guy. Took a lot of snaps in college. Like he's got a lot of sort of play time under his belt. And we really want to work with him. So, we'll see. I mean, obviously for him, these next couple of weeks is going to be about, learning, for the most part, behind Jacoby and Josh. And, knock on wood, we stay healthy and he won't be, pressed into duty right away. But, we claimed him with the idea that, we think he's got a real future in this league and with our organization. So we're excited about his traits, and his skills at this point and looking to develop them.
In a situation like that, where, again, he was drafted by Minnesota in the 3rd round a year ago, not by Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who is now the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, who then says, we know him. Paul knows him very well. And he says, you know what, we're cutting him, and I know they wanted him back on their practice squad, but is that a situation where you'd be like, hey, what's the deal with this guy?
I think AB and Kwesi definitely had some of those conversations, but it is hard. I mean, look, we're obviously good friends with him and rooting hard for him, but it is competitive. At the end of the day, And like you said, they wanted him back on the practice squad. So it's a little awkward to sit there and say, hey, should we be claiming this guy? What can you tell me about him? But we did our homework. We did our best to try to learn as much as we could about his time in Minnesota. Obviously, our scouts had done a tremendous job on him the year before, so we felt like we had a lot of background information on him going in, and then had the tape from this preseason. But yeah, we maybe felt a little bit bad about it, taking him from Kwesi. But hey, that's unfortunately the cost of doing business, I guess.
That's right.
Paul, not a lot of homework needed on the opposition quarterback this week. We know this guy pretty well with Baker, and as we all know about Baker, emotionally when he can get going, it can be an incredibly positive for him, and people can rally around it. What do you make about the idea of a guy who's been in our building for 4 years being the opposing quarterback on Sunday in the opener?
Yeah, don't love it. He's a good player.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a really good player. I mean, there's a reason we took Baker Mayfield number 1 overall, and he won a lot of games for us. Won our first playoff game in 25 years. As you said, Baker has an edge. And he has an edge, and that helps fuel him. And just knowing him as a person, he doesn't need the extra fuel this week in terms of us being the opponent. He'd be fired up regardless, and playing with that edge. But he's as tough a competitor as there is out there. So look, it's going to be a tough game, and unfortunately in this league, you figure you're going to run into ex players sort of all the time, as we do, and it was inevitable that if he wasn't going to be our quarterback, he was going to be starting for someone else, and we were going to run into him. It happens to be the very first week. But no, look, we have a ton of respect for him, and in some respects, maybe even best that we get this one out of the way in week 1 and don't have to look to it in the future. But I hope he has a great year. I really do. I think we're all of us who've been with him for 4 years, we're rooting for him and want to see him do well.
Paul, thank you so much.
We know he'll bring out his best on Sunday.
I think that's the emotions will be running high. Paul, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it a great deal.
No problem. Happy to do it.
All right, that's Paul DePodesta joining us on the hotline there. We go around the league coming up at the top of the hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Boners, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. We had a long conversation yesterday. It feels like it's time to get the dog for the children, that it's that time to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I'm in on that.
Yeah, I think we're going to go with, I think probably the way it's going to go is a retriever. Probably feels
Golden,
like a
sure.
nice golden is what we're going to do. That way there can be some fetch, some chase down efforts.
Some
Retrieving of balls. This feels like they're a good time of year to do it. The kids aren't in school, so the blonde can focus on it.
Yep.
The weather, other than today, which is just pure crap, should be dry enough.
Gotta prepare for mud.
Oh, I know.
More importantly, gotta get it early enough that you're not digging snow paths for it.
For training.
To go outside at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You got to get the potty training done early here. If you're going to get this dog, sooner rather than later. No pressure.
I mean, what's the perfect window to do this?
Usually spring, because then you have.
Yeah, but you're all in the muck.
Yeah, but
now.
But then by summer,
or like July probably is ideal. Probably
if you got
July
it now,
through
that you
August.
could get it trained by like September, October, easy. Then you're fine.
Then you're
safe.
good. Yeah, he's safe, pal. He's safe.
So this dog is though, where's this dog living?
Primarily outside with a piggyback in the entryway of the walkout.
It's gonna end up staying in one of the kids' rooms.
No question.
There's no
about
chance
it.
that that's happening.
What do you mean?
It's not staying in the kids'
The
rooms.
dog is sleeping in Bootsy's
That dog's gonna
bed
stay
with
in
him.
one of their rooms for sure.
You think that's a lock?
Lock.
Yep.
It's a big dog. Golden Retriever's a big dog.
Yeah, but
Doesn't
they're
matter.
gonna love it. You're gonna want that dog, and whoever it chooses, it's gonna be a kerfuffle. But that dog's gonna choose somebody's room to sleep in, and they're gonna love it. To sleep at the foot of the bed, it's like a boy and his dog. It's gonna be great.
That dog
dog's
is going to love one boy, and it is going to hate and chew up everything in another boy's bedroom.
No, we're not going to have that.
Oh,
That's
I'm
not
telling
gonna
you.
happen. No, I don't believe that'll happen.
That's how it usually goes.
That's how it goes, brother.
Yeah.
Just not your room.
No.
Right. So,
no, you
but
set
the boys
tone
and
right
they're gonna
away.
love it. What's
Well.
do they all have their owns, or is anybody
Well,
bunking?
no,
they're
they're all
their own.
separate. Yeah.
It's gonna end up. I'm feeling the dog is gonna be. Bootsy's gonna want it, but the dog I think is gonna go with Beamsy. His genteel disposition.
I disagree from the standpoint of Beamsy is scared of most things animal. And
It's
so
gonna-
I think the one who is going to be most willing to like literally sleep on the
NBC.
dog will be NBC.
NBC.
He'll be, that's the way.
You think
that's
Beamsy's gonna be
go.
scared of his own golden retriever? I don't think so.
I think so. I think it's in
At
play.
first.
Yeah, he's going to be more cautious for sure. Yeah, he's going to. Yeah.
Bootsy's gonna try to ride it like it's like Swiss Family Robinson.
There's no question that if you
Bootsy's
enjoy
going
the
to go
Swiss
to
Family
bed
Robinson,
every
that's it.
night angry and yelling that the dog.
Well, the
why
dog's
is the
not-
dog going to the other room?
No, no, we're gonna have some strict things with furniture. Like we can't have dogs on furniture. Like there's all sorts of this stuff that's gonna play.
Sure.
So we'll see.
You want me to take a picture of the dog I found this morning in my kid's bedroom?
They're gonna
She's
be
off to
sitting
college.
on the
She
couch.
found one.
It's now the big girl bed for the don't one dog.
Oh, jeez.
The dog's gonna be on the couch, head on their lap,
Yep.
petting. Everybody's gonna be happy, except for you.
Yeah, I won't be. I don't know. We'll see. There got to be rescue Goldens, right? I'd like to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. Maybe that's ideal. Then I don't have to worry about the puppy face.
Like
Get
you're
one that's
talking about
already-
get one that's already like.
It's like 2.
Yeah, I mean, might be a tougher find.
Tougher
It's a very
ask.
specific find.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, puppy I would think would be 2. A rescue puppy. Feels like that would be
Puppies
hard.
are tough. Puppies are a lot tougher.
Yeah.
I think you could find a rescue. You just both of mine are rescues.
Yeah.
So and
Same.
they're awesome.
Besa.
But if you get the rescue that
Yeah,
you know,
ain't.
our second one about broke us. Forget about us breaking the dog. The dog about broke us.
Yeah, it's time. It's.
I used to have to threaten Asa with a one-way ticket on the Shanghai Express. That's what I did. See ya.
Wow.
See you
Gotta
later.
Be a team player.
Gotta help me help you.
That's right. I just
Come
want to
on.
give you a great life. Some bites of steak
That's
every
it.
now and then. What's
Some
your stance on that?
Giving it food?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm for that. We did that as a kid,
Okay,
but
yeah.
we'd always not at the table. Like they wouldn't. Our dogs were never in the house, but like we would take the scraps, the bones and stuff, and then feed that to them. They'd go outside and
A little plate
and
licking
crush it.
maybe.
Yeah,
if they're
you can have
lucky.
that.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
at the table though. We'll do that off-site.
Offsite, yeah, sure.
Off-site. We'll do that. That's how that'll go. So yeah, you can't have a. I cannot. I'm not having a dog at
Boy.
the table.
Oh, this dog's gonna be sitting there like this, going like,
Boy,
And
do
you're
I
gonna be like,
wish
no,
we
and
had
then
a
Bootsy's
camera
Do
gonna
I
be
for
like,
strike you as the type that's going to be emotional?
No, but you're not the
Do
not
I
the
strike
problem.
you as someone who does not rule with an iron fist?
But you're going to see the joy that the dog brings to your boys.
Hold on a second.
Look at
Hold
him.
on
I
a
love
second.
the dogs, too.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
This is, I imagine, in your union
Mm-hmm.
that it's not. This isn't like a patriarchy. It's a true union. And while you may be resolute, as I've seen, I've only been around this dynamic a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You may be quite resolute.
Yeah.
And then they have an ability to look at their mother and make a.
Yeah.
And then they get then it
They
happens.
get some of what, some.
So you're.
I will say she's hardened from the time that you saw her because they're becoming more pains in the neck than they were then.
Yeah.
They were that was 3 years ago, so
was
they
a
were a
while.
lot more
Yeah.
innocent at that
Yeah.
time. Bootsy was
Well, this is
3.
another reason why we need Transformer Turkey.
Then you could witness the new
situation. Yeah, the new world
Then
order.
I think you have a better feel for where
Yeah.
we're at. She's
Right.
at the end of her rope a little bit with the 10-year-old. We're approaching that time.
Oh, he's
all right.
the trouble.
Well, no, I just think like they just want different
10,
stuff.
for
Like
sure.
they're getting,
They
it's
think-
like I've always said on the show. I say yes to everything they ask from. Will you coach this? Will you do this? Yes, because there's going to come a point where they hate me.
Yeah.
I know that's coming.
Yeah, you're gonna be.
So probably
Chest
sooner.
bumping, like,
yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's all happening.
Yeah.
Hey, the Steelers are retiring Franco Harris's jersey. This is pretty cool. They're actually going to do it when they play the Raiders. I was actually surprised to find out his number was not retired.
Same.
Kinda
Until this
shocked.
point. Yeah, me too. So his number is not retired, but they will retire it. I like the idea of honoring the number versus retiring it. I like the idea of being able to wear a number again and maybe having some sort of notification.
Yeah,
of, hey,
patch like a
do
if you wear
small
30, you get a
patch.
Franco patch. So GRINrescue.org is Golden Retrievers in Need. The Grin Rescue. They've rescued 3,700 Goldens. Adoption process. It's all right there. Available Goldens.
Who are these guys? They got me
don't know.
sorted out here.
Thanks to Mark Bishop, he sent us, and I mean from one
Oh.
bishop to another.
Boy, there's actually I got several of those.
Look at this little Bing. Bing.
Is he ready to go?
Oh, Bowie, Buddy, Brady.
Oh, look at these guys.
Sweet little Buttercup.
All right. Well,
Oh man,
there you go.
Charlie, Charles, Chuck. I mean,
they're big guys though, right?
some of them. Some are puppies. Bing is a puppy. Did you
Yeah.
click on available Goldens?
I'll have to do this in the break.
Oh baby. Yeah, some of them are quite old, but like you don't want to be too old, like
No,
because
no.
then you know.
Although the timing of that might be ideal.
there is
That way it's not a decade-long commitment. I was talking to my father-in-law. He goes, they had a Yorkie. The thing lasted God bless her, 16 years.
Yeah, but
That's a whole life,
then
man.
you're getting another one.
No. One and done. One and done. That's why this is the perfect time. You got a 10-year life expectancy, 10 to 12-year
Well,
life
yeah, but that's why you
expectancy.
can't get one that's too old. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, my God. Look at all the ones Paul's got. He's got 6 of them.
Look at Google.
They got all sorts of these guys. This is great.
Yeah.
Steelers depth chart. It's funny. So I had to explain this morning. PR puts out a depth chart for all the NFL teams, but that is not the depth chart.
No.
And it gets ran with every stinking year at this
It's
time.
ridiculous.
People run with it, and oh, this is it. And it's like, well, wait a second. It's just PR putting out a depth chart because do they have to? Is that the deal?
It's an unofficial depth chart that has to be posted.
Okay. So that's how it happened. So this part of this was the Steelers, everyone panicking that Mason Rudolph was ahead of Kenny Pickett. But then today, they're made available. Pickett's the 2.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Trubisky's the starter. He's the captain. Pickett's the 2 on the official depth.
How
as
much
they
of
run
that
today.
do you think is Kenny Pickett's agent getting hooked and worked into a shoot and calling and going, my client's got to be number 2?
It's not college football. There's not free transfer.
No. So it doesn't
So
matter.
I don't think that doesn't matter. I think that he probably played himself into it. I think the more stunning thing is they basically hung with Mason Rudolph for all those years, trying to pass him off as the quarterback of the future. And, he never was. And so I'm actually surprised Trubisky's the captain. I think that makes it a little tricky if you go to make a switch off of him at some point when you're talking about a captain. That surprised me that they did that.
Yeah.
This not surprising. John Harbaugh saying Lamar Jackson is locked in ahead of Week 1 despite the contract situation after yesterday's practice. So when is the date where where they have to franchise him? Is that
They don't have to do anything.
they're fine? That's next year.
He basically said, if come week 1, if it's not done.
Oh, that was his deadline.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he will have he'll play this year out on the current contract. Then next year he could be franchised twice, or is it next year once and then it's the cousin situation?
So next year, he could be franchised next year. He could be franchised the year after that at a massive premium if no contract happens.
Honestly, that might be the best for both.
And
It seems like the Ravens don't want to do a 6-year guaranteed $250 or whatever, and he wants to be highest paid, so he can do franchise back to back, and then be free to be like Cousins 3 years from now.
Yep.
It's a long ways down the road, man.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
You'll have plenty of money if you go that route.
Yeah, yeah. His their situation is interesting. I've seen a lot of the preview stuff. I know you guys have too, and there are a lot of people picking the Ravens to win our division, and I think it's out of habit. I certainly have a lot of respect for them, but it is hard for me to wrap my head around a team coming off of that type of significant injury being somehow better than Cincinnati. I don't see any scenario where Cincinnati's not better than they were last year. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to go to the Super Bowl again, but they're a better team.
It's just, again, it just is in the event that there's that Super Bowl hangover. People really believe in that Super Bowl hangover. And so I think
they really
if
do.
it's not the Bengals, who would it be? The next most likely team, given our situation and what's going on with the Steelers, is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are still a quality football team. They don't scare me.
No,
but they're good.
Yeah.
I think we have the perfect defense to deal with them.
Well, I think probably not by
accident.
Not by accident. Yeah. Our defense is set up for that perfectly. But no, look, you have all the respect in the world for what they can be, but I also think you also have to acknowledge their injuries were in many instances borderline catastrophic.
Oh, no doubt. And they still were.
Both corners, the running backs.
Both. The quarterback.
Both backs. Yeah. So it does sound like there's a chance J.K. Dobbins could play week 1 for them. Yeah, what do you have?
I said your new Golden's going to be like this, looking at you right from the couch, staring you down.
How little you know. You guys have no idea the resolve that I had with dogs as a child. By Pops Bishop teaching me the ways.
And that's fine in theory.
But
until your own kids have the dog.
You love the ways of Pops Bishop?
Yeah, it was fine. No, in general, I hated him. But in this instance, it was fine.
I think there's a big
I do
difference.
say this. You can't let I have too many people I've been around who the dog runs the situation. I'm not dealing with that.
I can't run a situation.
It's not running any situation.
But
so,
it's like
it's
a
not
part
a human.
Of the fam.
It is, but it's not a human.
Correct.
So
you
that's
must
the difference.
Police
Yeah.
things.
Well, yeah, they can't have.
Gotta have structure.
They don't run amok.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But a dog sleeping in a child's bedroom or on the bed at the end.
No. I wouldn't even say that at some point I wouldn't mind once we're through the training part.
Sure.
Like a dog bed in one of the boys' rooms, sleeping on the dog bed. I don't know. That's fine. I'm not gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna have running amok.
No.
Like we're
There's
not
no running amok.
Yeah, but that's not. That will not stand.
I do think though there's a slightly different situation from growing up on the Ponderosa on like an active farm.
Sure.
Than in a very nice community, in a very large home in the Bishop Estate.
I don't know about that, but I think what I need, the key to this operation was going to be the fencing, the permanent fencing.
Yeah.
And that's not done. So I'm going to have to geo-track it or something. Like I do want, it's really important for a dog to be outside and be able to run, and we have some acreage, so run amok.
The best thing, and it helps with disciplining them and teaching them discipline and whatnot, is the use of the shock collar.
Does that tie into the geo-tracking?
So you can go underground fence.
Right. But I don't think you need that anymore. I think
no,
you can geo-track
I
it.
literally, but I also have a handheld, like,
it
doesn't, like,
yeah.
If I needed to, I could zap her if she's chasing a skunk, per se, like she was a month and a half ago. Something like that where you need to, but, like, she gets too far.
Boom.
Just a little, like, the slightest thing. They know, and they'll come right back.
Yeah. No, there you go.
Do it a couple, take her
Can you
to
imagine if I get this dog and I send it to Camp Gibby? Move Gibby in for a month to just handle things.
It's fine. My wife is pretty darn good at it.
I bet she would be.
She's the trainer.
Yeah,
like I come in and
then
then she's like, what are you doing? You're doing everything that I don't want you to do. And I'm like, oh
well.
Dog seems to be having fun.
Dog's having the time of its life. All right, you'll hear from John Johnson coming up next here on the program. A little better or worse coming up at the bottom of the hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now here is John Johnson and apparently an appearance by Anthony Walker Jr. at the podium from yesterday.
The state of the defense right now.
You're down. This is 3.5.
The best possible shape to start the season. I mean, it's never perfect, but I think, we're in a good place. We got a lot of bonus days, to get ready for this one, so I think we're in a good place.
What are your thoughts on Baker Mayfield, and have you started watching, much film yet, and what do you think about
Yeah, I caught a few those preseason games live actually, and I have watched a couple things, just stuff you see, in social media, stuff like that. But we're gonna put together a good plan. Like I said, we got a couple bonus days, so that helps us, and I think we'll be ready.
John, there were some reports last week of some things maybe Baker had said about him going to extend him up. I know Greg talked about it a little bit last week because Baker, said maybe the conversation didn't happen exactly like that. Greg said it didn't matter whether or not it was actually said, that you guys would find a way to use that, I guess, as motivation. Do you feel that way?
I feel like we're going to prepare, like how we always prepare. I mean, it's week 1. We got to win the opener. I mean, we got to go 1-0. That's what everyone wants to do. Half the team's going to start with a win. Half the team's going to start with a loss. So we want to be that team. I mean, that team that has a W. So it's just our preparation is not going to change.
When it comes to familiarity, who really has the advantage? The quarterback who's familiar with the defense, or the defense who's familiar with the quarterback?
I mean, I feel like I'm a little biased. I'm going to say the defense. It's one of him and 11 of us. So, we can move all around and disguise things, and different guys can play different spots. So I think we got that, man.
All right, question, y'all. Hold on. Boston College Rutgers last week. How you feel about that? How did that game go for you?
Disappointing, man. We had that game won. We laid down, I'd say, and we got to get back to the drawing board, and we got to be better than that. It was very disappointing.
You don't have a follow-up?
Did Northwestern win?
Yes. We was talking about Boston College all week, y'all, by the way. All week.
John, how much of the team was in position last year to make the playoffs? How much blame should go on Mayfield for not getting it done?
Oh, we never blame anyone, let alone one person. It was a collective effort. We could have been better on special teams, could have been better on defense, could have been better on offense as a whole. Injuries happen, stuff like that. It's just the name of the game in this league, but it's a team game, and you can't really put that blame on one person.
When you look at Mayfield's preseason games, do you see does he look healthy compared to what the whole year he played with that shoulder injury?
I think
sign of anything?
No, I think he's confident. I think that was probably a big thing that happened last year. Maybe the confidence wavered a little bit, but looks confident, looks healthy, looks like he's whipping the ball, so it's going to be a challenge.
What about him not playing in the season finale? Did that hit anybody the wrong way, the fact that he kind of tapped out of that last game?
I wouldn't say personally. I know I had a little injury. I missed the previous 2 games, but I wanted to make sure I came back, just to play with my guys and stuff like that. So, I mean, it goes both ways. It's just the character. I mean, maybe he was hurt. We don't know. I mean, maybe he really couldn't play. So I think it's just something we don't know, honestly.
Carolina is a very unfamiliar opponent to this team.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't played them in 8 years. But with Mayfield as their quarterback, does it help intensify the focus at all? Does it intensify the preparation at all?
Maybe a tad bit, but we got to prepare like we always do. Go in there, get a plan, buy into it, study them, and go out there and execute at a high level. That's each and every week. So
30 seconds.
Period. They got good receivers, probably outstanding running back. He's been dealing with injuries, but it's a whole group that we got to prepare for, and we'll be ready.
McCaffrey didn't play, I don't think, the whole preseason. So how do you project him into the defensive game plan?
Oh, he has tons of tape. I mean, it's not, they aren't just going to go out there and make things up with him. He has things that he's really, really good at. I don't think they're going to shy away from those things, and we got to get ready for him. But he has tons of tape we can watch.
You're up.
Good stuff from John Johnson there at the podium. The how did they were talking about McCaffrey there at the end? Did your draft fall the way you liked, or did it fall good, or were you pleased? You were doing a draft last night. Did you like it?
Yeah, I was pleased. I mean, it's tough. We play with all these keepers, so by the time I picked 9th, it was pretty slim pickings.
Yeah. Do you have any league that isn't a keeper?
No.
Where you restart every year?
No.
Yeah. That's nice.
It's fun. Now, first-round picks are typically off limits. They can't be kept. So that keeps some of the guys up there. But, if you get somebody good, in the 4th or 5th round. Like Jonathan Taylor, he'll be back in the draft next year because he was a rookie. He was drafted in the 4th round and then was kept and then kept. You can keep somebody twice. That's it.
Okay, and then they got to turn them over.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. How about yours? You were picking 5th?
I was picking 5th. Same group of guys for 21 years.
Yeah.
Bunch of dudes from down in Florida. I was picking 5th. It was fine, but I felt like it was one of those drafts where everybody – I know that this isn't true, but it feels like I would put guys in the queue just so I'd have a list of guys so I wouldn't have to siphon through. And it feels like as soon as I put them in the queue, they'd get picked. And by the time I would pick –
Spygate.
The queue was empty. I mean, so it's like, what happened? It went fine. It went fine. I used our guy, the guru. I used a lot of his advice. So if he knows what he's talking about, then I think we should be very good.
The guru does.
And I think the guru does. So I think it'll work out okay. But it wasn't I don't feel like it was exactly the way that I wanted it.
Plus, I think picking 5th is hard. How many teams is it?
10.
Because you're just right in the middle. So it's like one pick, and then you have to wait. And then it's one pick, and you have to wait. And then
It
it's
sucks.
One pick. Yeah, like I love
You
being
can't
on
strategize.
I like being on the ends.
I do too. Yeah.
Back-to-backs.
It's hard because I ended up Dalvin and Javonte, I think, were my first 2 picks.
Baby.
So that works out okay. But it's, nothing
wrong with that.
No, it worked out okay. We'll see. See how it all goes. All right, we got a little better or worse coming. Oh, Poisal's joining us. AP is going to join us for a little better or worse.
Better or worse, baby.
We'll see if he can follow the rules of the game. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
And Cleveland.
It's the regular season.
Really
It's
is.
the regular season.
Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Time for a little higher, lower, better, or worse. Anthony Poisal with us, our staff writer, joining us. Gibbe is here.
I like more of a Poisel.
Poisel?
Yeah, I like
How
Pete
do
Rozelle.
you say it?
Poisel. This was back
the
to the first time I was on.
Poisel.
Poisel?
Also,
Yeah.
Gibbs, I don't know if you're trying to talk, but I cannot hear you.
Poisel. So like Roselle.
Like
Yeah, Poisel. So
Poisel?
you're right. So what I
Does
was
this help you? Does that help? Can you hear that?
Gibbs,
No?
you want to do a little test run?
No.
Roselle.
We can hear you, so that's good.
I can't hear Gibbs as well.
You don't need to hear Gibbs.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's going to.
New
He
one?
actually does. You're the. This is amazing.
That's a new one.
This is ridiculous.
How many-
It's the regular season. How many people
How
does
many
it take
does it take to turn a mic on?
to get this show going?
No. My mic is on. I'm
is
actually
now.
peaking right now.
It is
Well,
now.
now-
It is now.
It
Now I-
wasn't a moment ago.
I can't
How
hear
about
anybody
now?
through here now, but that's okay. We'll
Now you
we'll
can't
get
hear
through it.
anybody?
I can't. No.
What about now?
Now I can.
There you go. Okay.
Can you hear anything, Anthony?
I can hear you now, Gibbs. We're set.
Unbelievable.
what?
Nobody could hear Gibbs
We
for a
didn't
while.
do anything.
Stevie and Gibbs are both
just over there. It's
volume
like
up, down.
Chickens.
No one's got a red button, so nobody knows who's on
There's
air.
no on-air off. Yeah, no.
Is anybody listening?
No.
All right.
Not after
Scarlet,
this. They're
young
like,
Scarlet.
they're like,
I
you guys
think
are supposed
those
to be
are
in regular season form.
I think those are Hirachis.
I just want to know what
like a new
Zagura is
form of
crying
Hirachi
about
he's
now.
Those
wearing.
are different.
What am I crying about now?
Yeah, what were you complaining about?
Two-sided
Well-
printing. It's so hard to keep. I'm like, here, I'm here.
Oh
Where is
my
it? What's,
God.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
Is this part of an initiative, a green initiative here at the
Yeah.
program? Are we having a green initiative?
You
We're
know,
trying to
you know
save
what the
paper?
problem is?
Gibbs
We
What?
got we got new printers.
So we did. So
The settings are different. The setting is different. And
So
that's
what-
when we printed it, automatically printed both sides.
which one's the new content? Well, it will say.
It says
double-sided.
content one. I don't know what your printer is yet.
Oh, it is double-sided.
You still can use that, but I can't.
Yeah, that's because you suck.
See, that's where it just gets over the line and
Oh,
ventures
yeah.
into
Now
unnecessary
someone
territory.
Talked back to me after I made a big stink about someone taking my ball and go home.
At least you're on air right now,
Outrageous.
Gibby.
Yeah, it'd be better if he was
If he's
is
off.
off. Yeah, not on. The opposite.
Oh, whatever. You'll be fine. Rub some dirt on it.
Peepaw.
Peepaw, see? Poisel gets it. Peepaw's angry. Get off my lawn. I will tell a quick story. You would have loved this. You would have loved this. This would have been right up Peepaw's alley. So when we were up at the lake in Michigan, and then Kayla's grandpa, who's called Crampa with a C,
Okay.
he lives about like 15 minutes further away on a lake called Party Lake, but not Party, Pardee, because it is not
Okay.
a party lake. And he's been on the the HOA of the lake in the past, and it was very important to him that there was an 8 p.m. no wake rule.
Oh, he doesn't want.
After 8 p.m., no wakes. Not even in the middle of summer.
Let me just say, no wake is really slow.
Really slow.
The motor's not
That's
even on.
trolling. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah. So 8 p.m.
If you hit at 8 p.m. no wake. It's
early. And so the reason
might take an hour to get across.
and we
the
were
lake.
saying, I was like, Crampa, why 8 p.m.? He's like, well, the official law in the state is 1 hour after sundown. And he said, so we just picked the average of that. And I said,
well, probably the average of the summer would be the average you're looking for, as opposed to the average of the year.
Yes, but Crampa's absolutely not. So
Not
a guy
on
went out there. We were over there having some little apps and just sitting, hanging out, having a grand old time. And as soon as like 7:45, a jet ski comes out, and it's 7:45, another boat comes out, a speedboat comes out, and he's on this binocs immediately, identifying the people. And he's like, why do they gotta come out here at 7:45? It was like a great get off my lawn. And he was like, he was so ready. Like when we got to 7:55 and the boat was still out there, he's like, you gotta get them
They got
over
5
there.
minutes.
That's what I said. I said, Grandpa, they got 5 minutes.
And by the way, in July, it's still sun.
By the way, it was
There's
still
still
sun.
sun.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But that means like in the peak when sundown's 9:03 or whatever it is.
Yeah, we're not even close to
They're out.
sundown.
Yeah.
How did he get that
way.
through?
He was the prez.
Wow,
and forced
that's
through, and
a
it's
powerhouse move.
Never been taken out.
To do 8 o'clock.
And then he told us there was one time, and this was. I was
So
like,
he's not a boater.
I told he is. He likes, but he goes on. He's not an intense boater. He goes. He's got his pontoon, and he likes to just putter around the lake.
Puddle around. So is there a morning curfew as well? Like no wake before
I
9?
asked that. Great question. I asked the same question.
Yeah.
I said, and he's like, well, people just, common sense in the morning, like, which is basically 9 is what he said.
How big is this
9?
lake?
It's big enough that you could tube on it, whatever, but it's one of the many small. There's a billion of these
Yeah.
lakes in Michigan.
Okay.
It's big enough that you could get out there and do some things. It's not as big as the lake that Kayla's dad's cottage is on, but it's you could do whatever you want out there. You could jet ski, you can tube, you can water ski. I just thought it was hilarious. And he said one time when he was the president, like back in the day, because his wife was like, just let the people have fun on the lake, and no, he wanted no part of that. He didn't want to hear that. So he said that one time a guy violated the rules, and so he got him on camera. He said I had my old VHS on the. She's like, so I videoed him, and then I went to his house, and while I videoed him, I said I got a tape of you breaking this rule. If you ever break it again, blah 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 blah. And the guy, and then he goes, never broke the rule again. I said, all right, Crampa.
Jeez,
I know,
formidable.
Crampa, formidable.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a stud.
All right.
But I feel like
Gibby. I feel
like
if Crampa or whatever it is shows up at my door telling me that I've done something.
What do you mean? You guys would be
I'm
peas
gonna
in a pod.
I'll take that.
You'd be peas in a
that
pod.
nice little
No, wait,
videotape.
what are you
and
complaining about?
Cram it somewhere. I don't think.
Give
I don't
be
think
on a
that-
zero
Matter of
trying
fact,
to cramp it to have those binocs, and they're like the most powerful binocs you can buy. So, and it was
Bird
almost they're
watching.
so powerful that you could like, if you think about it, you're seeing so far across the lake.
Yeah, right.
Like it's right here. You could read the numbers on the
course.
the license
see,
plates on
you know
cars
what
apart.
needs. You know what needs to happen to this guy?
What?
Sopranos. Pull the boat up with the giant speakers and just start playing like opera music.
Crampa is not to be trifled with,
Hey,
just like
there's
you're
no-
not to be
there's
trifled
no-
with.
There's no
He's not to
wake.
be trifled with.
Just a
There's
bunch
no
of
wake.
music. Just a bunch of loud music.
That was a baller move out of Tony.
Noise
the boys from
ordinances,
Speaker City.
Yeah, that's right. Speaker
Come out there.
City. Speaker City. I had a Speaker City T-shirt for a long time.
Of course you did.
It's great.
So good.
Great company.
Oh man.
All right.
All right, Gibby, what printer am I supposed to print to on here?
I don't know. I don't care about your printing needs. It's higher or lower.
Who's higher or lower, better or worse is this?
Better or
That's
worse?
right. Higher or lower. This is Poisal's maiden voyage on higher or lower.
Is this your higher or lower? Did you do the
No, this is
list?
not mine, but we're going to talk about it. This is from Dan Hansis.
Dan Hansis. NFL.com, kids.
Would you
All
say
right. Poisal is already? He did you did study of this. You've looked at this.
I did take a
previous-
look. Did you not take a
No.
look? Okay, well,
Come
here
on.
we
We
go.
fly by the seat of our pants.
No, we don't.
I mean,
look at
Gibbs
this.
sent me a list. I figured I
I
had to
appreciate
take a
you
look at it,
taking a look.
No,
Of
course,
I'm not
Gibby, I do
reading
my
anything.
research.
All right,
No.
2 quick questions, Poisal. Would you say that the number 20 is a higher number than the number 1?
What does that mean? What is-
Exactly. Would you say that a first-round pick is a better pick than a 7th-round pick?
What kind of questions are these?
See, this is why
That's a
higher or
straightforward
lower
question.
Never happens,
Pretty
Poisal.
straightforward.
Yes, so very
Because we
yes,
end up
absolutely.
with this.
Yes.
Like
Because
that's what I'm
Aaron
saying. I'm like,
likes
is
to
there like a
beat
trick
Mr.
here?
Ed even
Like-
after
No,
Mr.
that's
Ed's
because this is so
dead and buried.
confusing. He wants us to all of a sudden say that a team that's ranked 20th is actually lower than a team that's ranked like 3rd, even though 20 is a bigger number, right? If you're one
Yeah.
step, 2
Oh,
steps, 2,
I
3
see
steps.
what you're saying.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
okay.
better or worse really simplifies everything.
Yes.
Are they better? Are the Raiders
Okay.
better than
You
the
know,
Bears?
Gibbs,
Or
you
are they
did-
higher than the Bears?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know. They're in Vegas. Maybe they are.
Poisal,
They're having a good
answer
time.
carefully, or this will be your first and last
Well,
appearance.
I just-
on
Stevie
Higher or Lower.
agreed
I'm
with
just gonna
us,
state a
and then
fact and-
Stevie
Well, he's right. in
went
his,
right back
He's
when
right
Gibbs
at
was
his hip
there.
now.
Yeah.
It's so close to get
Yes.
whacked at any
Did
point.
have to specify in the email what higher meant.
Exactly.
But-
Exactly.
I mean, I
The
figured
defense
higher
rests.
meant higher on the list. So I want to come back on higher or lower, by the way, Gibbs. So keep me going.
Poisal knows.
Better
All right,
or worse?
higher or lower, Dan Hansis, NFL.com. Play the traveling music, Madison.
Oh, it's
And
playing.
if you have been, I can't
has
hear
been.
it. We can't hear it.
Well,
in
that's
here.
a shame that you
We can't hear it.
can't
in
hear
here.
it. So you guys can't get on the air and you can't hear.
Bastion of quality right here.
What a situation.
I mean, it's amazing that
regular
adding a
season
second
week 1.
person into the mix it's like thrown Gibbe into complete chaos.
The
He has
whole
more help
operation.
now,
No,
and now it's just total
I'm just
chaos.
telling you. Like,
But he doesn't
we're-
have time to write the winning mix.
No, we're not writing the winning mix. You're writing your winning mix.
Nobody asked you to write the winning mix, by the way. Yes.
Really?
It's weird. Not
Funny.
Nobody asked
Funny
you.
how that came down.
For what? It's a union. It's an unholy union in there. Hey, what do you think about what about make a long field goal? Nah. What-
Well, I'm gonna write you a winning mix.
You made me
We'll get some clicks for you.
You made the
Poisal.
one
That would get a lot.
We'll
If
get
you
you. We'll get you some clicks this week.
If you wrote it, it would blow up.
Hey, I got one. Gibbe be like, Stevie, I got one. Score more points. than the other team. Can't lose that way.
Oh my God!
Perfect. Print.
That's how this will go. First and foremost, on Dan Hansis' power poll. Poisal, we're going to start with you because my other two hosts have mailed it in for the
They
day.
got the giggles.
The Cleveland Browns are ranked 22nd. Should they be
Oh.
higher, closer to number 1, or lower, closer to number 32?
I think they should be closer to number 1, but not by much.
So you think they're better?
I do think they're better.
Yeah, he
I do
thinks they're better.
Oh,
well, when I look at the teams that are in front of them, I'm like, okay, I can see why they're ahead of them right now. I would say I'd bumped them up above the Steelers at 21.
Amen.
And then I think the teams after that, let me pull it up real quick.
Well, you have it right here, Poisal.
Zagura.
Yes, we're better.
There we go. So
We're better.
I mean, the Vikings, Dolphins, I think you can make an argument that the Browns are still better than them. But
better.
I mean, I see why they're ahead of the Browns right now.
To say something is higher invokes "Come On Baby, Light My Fire" by The Doors.
Bishop.
Fronted by
Higher,
Jay
lower,
We're
Morrison.
better than
Right.
Pittsburgh.
Yes.
We're definitely better than Pittsburgh.
I don't know.
think we're
It's funny thing.
slightly-
It's like I'm
we're
hearing
better
that I
than
have to
New
flip
England.
this over.
I think it's fine. We should be around 20, 19
Okay.
or 20,
That's
somewhere
why
in there.
Yeah, that's why I
We're better than the Titans.
And I
I'm
also
not hearing
think
it.
I also think that you're going to get.
I mean, are you ready to say that before you've seen
Yeah, I am.
Jacoby in a week 1 or week 2 game that they're better than the Titans?
Well, here's the deal, though.
We
I
are
mean,
better
This
than
is
the
all
Titans.
arbitrary anyway. I think the big key to this
We
operation.
don't play them this year.
I'm not saying they won't be eventually, but like, can you say that right now?
Here's something you're going to see. You're going to see us handled this way for a while, and we talked about this in all
That's fine.
seriousness. Like, we're the villain. So this is now. I never bought into that.
Baby.
Yes.
I never bought into that. I don't buy into Cleveland against the world. I don't buy into that. I think a lot of people are fine and or indifferent or whatever.
Yes.
But I do think in this instance there is going to be a little bit of a villain situation. So I think we'll be lower.
Next.
Oh man.
Higher or lower?
We need an NWO theme as our traveling music
That would be good.
because that's who we are. We're
That's
the
right.
heels.
Number 1 is Buffalo. We've talked about Buffalo a lot here in the offseason. We go to number 2. And those are Los Angeles Rams. Number 2, Zagura, higher, lower, or just right?
Well, to be the man, you got to beat the man. They are ranked number 2, and I think that is. I'm fine with that for now. Somebody's got to knock them off.
Well, shouldn't they be number 1 if they're the
Yeah,
man?
they got to be knocked off.
Yeah, but I think the Bills are number 1. So I'm saying after the Bills, then the Rams.
Yeah,
I don't
we'll
even
find out
see-
on Thursday.
Where in the hell is 1, 2? Oh, here
Oh,
it
it's
is.
so hard because
Bishop.
it's everywhere.
Los
So they have
Angeles.
the Rammies too.
I've got
I
this
got 'em-
simplified, and I have it on my laptop.
All right, here's the deal.
Thank you. I've got it on my phone.
Well, two
I'm
people
not
produced this
somebody.
voice out.
I'm not
two different people.
it always bugs me when people are like, "Oh, well, they're the champion until somebody beats them." Like teams change, right?
So you don't like Ric Flair?
I love Ric Flair, but that's a little different because he's the same Ric Flair every time.
To
He
be
hasn't
the man, you
changed
gotta
his-
beat the man.
Right, he
Woo!
is the man though. He's
Yeah.
not.
He's
he doesn't have
singular.
other people that have to also be considered
the
here.
men.
I don't think that. I think that this list, quite frankly, if I could find 4, 5, and 6, there it is. I think it's really skewed NFC, and I don't buy that at all. So I think the
outrageous.
Bills
Right,
are number 1,
yes.
and then I would move some AFC teams up into this. I do not understand why there are 4 NFC teams in the top 6 for Dan Hansis.
Yeah, that's a
San
lot.
Francisco 3 with Trey Lance.
Outrageous. Here you go.
Come on.
Here we go. The Chargers, number 2. Rams, worse. Chargers, better. Mark me. Chargers, second.
Big leap. 8 and 9.
That's a huge.
rocket
You'd
ship.
put them at second right now.
Yeah, Zagura's.
He likes them.
I mean,
love
I
them.
think they have the potential.
They're
They've got a
loaded
great
on
roster. I
offense.
think their coach
They
is gonna
added
sell them
Khalil
short.
Mack and J.C. Jackson. They got Derwin James back
Yep.
healthy to that defense. So you got Mack and Bosa now. You have great corners. You've got a great playmaking safety. Like, I like that.
I think I can actually buy on to that.
What's not to like?
I
Do you
think I could
trust
buy
that
onto
coach?
I think
He's
sometimes
tricky.
people are worried about the outcome rather than the process. He's a little aggressive. I don't know if he needs to be so aggressive this year given the talent influx. Last year their defense
Right.
wasn't great, and they had to try to make up for that. This year
Yeah.
their defense should be great.
I would be fine with. I don't have a problem with the Rams at 2. I just think the other NFC teams are a little too many.
The 9. So are we
Niners.
still on the Rams, or can we move on to 3, Gibbs? I don't know how this works.
You do whatever you want, Poisal.
Well, okay, we're gonna
Points
move on.
out, we can have an airing of the grievances that somehow the San Francisco
well,
49ers are number 3.
The Niners
that they
at
should be
3.
higher, lower, or just
was
Not even I
that-
believe it.
that's definitely lower in my opinion. That was the most shocking team on the list, considering that we haven't really seen a whole lot of Trey Lance.
I'm a big worserer.
Yeah, worserer.
It's worse.
Worserer.
Yeah.
They're worserer.
Nate,
Next.
I don't even believe the Niners are number 3.
Higher or lower?
It's my dad, by the way.
Let me scroll down to number 7, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hold on, I have to flip through 3 pages. Is it here?
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
So, just so you all get
Got
up to speed here, number 4 is Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Number 5 is Cincinnati. Number 6 is Green Bay. It takes us to number 7 and Kansas City. Zagura, higher, lower, or just right?
Better. I think we're sleeping on Mahomes' greatness. I think, in fact, his greatness got somewhat lost a little last year in trying to wait for Tyreek Hill, trying to make the big play in the preseason. He was completing passes to everybody under the sun, taking what they give him. I think he's going to be nasty. I think they've got a good combination of Marquez Valdes-Scantling can take the top off. You still have Kelsey. You bring in a Juju. Sky Moore. Yeah, Sky Moore. Oh, baby. I think they're going to be pretty good.
Higher, lower, just right.
I could make an argument there 2. I could have them as high as 2. Yeah, they're better than 7. The idea that the Packers are ahead of them and the 49ers, come on.
Yeah, I'm also on the higher train as well. I do think we're sleeping on Pat, but I also think that's sleeping on Travis Kelce to not be as good as he has been. Which I know he's getting older, but Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, and he's been the dominant TE these last few years. And then Juju, I know he's been quiet, and the injuries the last couple of years have really hurt his production. But his quarterback is Patrick Mahomes now, and that's a better quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger. Current Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Ben ever was in Juju's career. So, and I think he's still young. I think he's like 25, 26 years old. I think they have what they need to make up for what they need for Tyreek. And so I would put the Chiefs at number 2 or number 3 as well.
Next.
Higher or lower?
Final one on this Tuesday. Denver's number 8. The Chargers, number 9. Number 10. Baltimore Ravens. Higher, lower, or just right? Poisal, lead us.
I'm gonna go with just right for now, just because I think they're gonna be a really good team still, but I don't think the teams that are in front of them with just the teams just right off, the Chargers, the Broncos, I think those teams are all still better than the Ravens. I think the biggest question mark with them obviously is just what can they do in the pass game with the receivers they have. Do you really think James Prochet, Devin Duvernay, and those guys, are they going to be able to have big years? And I don't think they've shown that.
Bateman will be a dude.
Bateman will be a dude, and I know they still have Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely made a lot of noise in the preseason, but it's still a big question mark. And then I think Ronnie Stanley, how fast he's kind of able to come back and start the season. I think he just had his first practice a couple of days ago, but the offensive line was a big problem for him last year.
30 seconds, higher, lower, or just right?
Worser. I think the Eagles are a better version of the Ravens.
Same.
With better talent. I think
they got a better offensive line.
Way better offensive line.
They had huge injuries, man. It's not like they had hammies.
Yeah.
Ligament tears.
Yeah, that's right.
In a lot of places. Good job out of you, Poisel.
I'm looking forward to the next time.
Well,
better or worse.
Oh, he gets it.
He gets it.
Big points.
So much more to come. You're listening to the Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Well, we got a game week on our hands, my friend. We have Coach tomorrow.
Let's go.
Right in the 1 o'clock hour. Scores. A game on Thursday. Scores are coming.
I just got like a happy shiver through my
So
body.
exciting.
The scores, by the way, last year, folks, for the 12th consecutive
Yeah.
year, combined about 80 games over 500 last year for the entirety. That's run through the playoff Super Bowl. You're welcome. You keep saying it can't keep going on.
That's the
and
shtick.
yet it does.
This is clearly the year.
1
it won't.
minute.
This is the year it all falls off a cliff.
No way.
I did the college over the weekend.
How'd you do?
8-3 out of the gates.
So why is this the year it's falling apart?
I don't know. You never know. Just wanted expectations medium, and then blast through.
Listen, we're either going to be very valuable, as we always are, or we're going to be very valuable and do the opposite. So either way, you're winning.
Either way, you win. There's no question.
Yeah.
The next level is coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.